Perfect. Perfect.
All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. Of course, this is the show where we cover the SWAC inside and out. And I am your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells coming at you. And this is the last day of SWAC basketball coming up on Saturday, man. Dropping this on Friday. Tomorrow, last day of SWAC basketball. Got 12 games, 6 men, 6 women. Man, we're going to solidify the tournament bracket seedings and the whole nine. And all this chaos is finally going to come to an end, and we'll get ready for the SWAC tournament next week. So, man, buckle up, man. There's still a lot of crazy things that can happen. You know, almost every game is important. And, you know, we'll go through the scores from yesterday's games, and we'll go over the games that are going to be played on Saturday. Then we'll take a look at the standings and how the seedings shape up, and then I'll give my prediction on how I think the tournament seedings will go down. Sunday we'll go over the games from Saturday, and we'll preview the SWAC tournament. And that's when I'll give my official winner of the men and women bracket once the seedings are set and official. So with that being said, man, y'all can hit those socials. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, man, go ahead and hit that subscription button, like the video, share them, hit that notification bell to be alerted to anything that I drop. And feel free to, chop it up in the comments. Let me know how you think the season going. Let me know who you think going to win the regular season on the men's side, who you think going to win the SWAC tournament, the hopes for your team and the whole nine. So, man, let's go ahead and jump knee deep into this, man. We're not gonna waste no more time. And we'll start off on the women's side, and we'll look at the action that took place yesterday, Thursday, March 2nd. Alabama State lost to Southern 75-63. Alabama A&M beat Grambling 55-50. Jackson State beat Pine Bluff 56-42. And Alcorn beat Valley by a score of 69-58. And that takes us to the standings with one game left. Jackson State is the regular season champ. We know that. They are the 1 seed in the tournament. They're 16-1 right now, 19-8 overall with a 13-game winning streak. Alabama State is 12-5, 15-13. They've lost one. Alabama A&M is 12-5, 14-13, and they've won one. Prairie View is 11-6, 14-14. They've lost one. Southern 11-6 as well, 14-14 also. They've won one. Pine Bluff is 9-8, 11-16. Overall, they've lost one. Bethune-Cookman is 9-8, 10-17 overall. They've lost 5 straight games. They have really cooled off. They were in the thick of things at one point. They were 9-3 at one point and sitting in a really good spot. And they lost the next 5 games to put them barely in the tournament. Alcorn is 8-9 with a 12-16 record. Overall, they won 2. Grambling 8-9. 9-19, lost one. Florida A&M 4-13, 6-22 overall. They won one. Texas Southern 2-15, 2-26 overall. They've lost 3 in a row. And Valley 0-17 in conference play and 2-26 overall. They've lost 20 straight games. So they are in danger of going winless in conference play and finishing the season on a 21-game losing streak. So that's you never want that to happen, but it's going to be tough for Valley. And looking at the games on Saturday, Texas Southern is at Prairie View. That's a 12:30 tip. That's the HBCU Go game of the day. Florida A&M is at Bethune-Cookman, 1 o'clock tip. That's on the Cat Eye Network. Alabama State is at Grambling, 3 o'clock tip-off. Alcorn is at Pine Bluff. That's a 3 o'clock tip. Alabama A&M is at Southern, 3 o'clock tip, and Jackson State is at Valley. That's a 4 o'clock tip. Now let's try to decipher these standings to a degree, man. Right now, if the tournament was to start today, Jackson State would be the 1 seed. Alabama A&M would be 2 seed because they have the tiebreaker over Alabama State. So Alabama State would be 3rd. Southern would be ahead of Prairie View, even though Southern has a tiebreaker due to point differential over Prairie View. So Southern would be 4. Prairie View would be 4. Southern would be 5. Excuse me. Southern would be 4. Prairie View would be 5. Bethune-Cookman, they have the tiebreaker over Pine Bluff. So they would be 6. Pine Bluff would be 7. And Alcorn would be over Grambling because they have the tiebreaker. So they would be in. Grambling would be out. So 1 through 8, as we stand right now, Jackson State, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Southern, Prairie View, Bethune-Cookman, Pine Bluff, and Alcorn. Those would be your 8 teams that make the tournament. There is still some movement because, like I said, there's games between some top teams. Southern and Alabama A&M face off. That's a big matchup. If Alabama A&M wins that game, they put themselves solidly in second place no matter what Alabama State does, because they hold a tiebreaker. So a win by the Bulldogs will give them second place. Alabama State with a win and Alabama A&M loss, they would be tied with Southern, who would beat Alabama A&M, and Southern would win that tiebreaker. So Southern would be second at that point, followed by the Hornets and then the Bulldogs. Now, if Prairie View wins against Texas Southern, then you muck that up even more. And like I said, that you get into a whole bunch of tiebreakers in that scenario. So that's a little bit too deep to go into. Not really trying to go that deep right now, but right now there's still a lot of room for everybody to make moves in the top 4. But your top 5 are set. One through 5 are set. You just shuffle in 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those teams can finish anywhere, but most likely, I feel like Alabama A&M will most likely be the 2nd seed, followed by Alabama State, then Southern and Prairie View. That's kind of how I see it. Although, like I said, a Southern win and Prairie View loss can change a whole lot of things. A Southern win and Alabama State loss can change a lot of things. If Alabama State wins and Southern wins and Prairie View wins, then there would be a tie for 3rd place with Alabama A&M, Southern, and Prairie View. So still a lot of wiggle room to go, but those games are big. The Grambling Alabama State game is big for Grambling because they need to win and have Alcorn lose to get in. So if Alcorn and Grambling both win, Alcorn gets that spot. If Alcorn and Grambling both lose, and if they both lose, then Alcorn still gets that spot due to tiebreaker. So Grambling is only in if they win and Alcorn loses. An interesting race would be Bethune-Cookman and Pine Bluff. If Alcorn won and those two teams, Alcorn and Pine Bluff play each other, so that's going to move somebody around. So Pine Bluff could knock Alcorn out the tournament. Alcorn can solidify themselves into a tie with Pine Bluff and Bethune-Cookman. If Bethune-Cookman were to lose to FAMU, I don't really think they will. So Bethune-Cookman is gonna most likely finish at 10-8. Of course, you can't count the chickens before they hatch. They're on a 5-game losing streak. But FAMU is they aren't playing very well, although they did beat Southern last week. But I feel like Bethune-Cookman would pull their game out, which would put them at 10-8. And they most likely will be the 6th seed, unless Pine Bluff wins and they lose. Then any scenario that happens, they most likely will be the 6th seed. An important tiebreaker to keep an eye out on is Bethune-Cookman has a tiebreaker over Alcorn. They had a tiebreaker over Pine Bluff, so they will probably solidly be the 6th seed. So I don't really see too much changing now. So you can say 1 through 6 are pretty solid. Pine Bluff at 7, and then probably Alcorn at 8. So that's a lot. That's still, like I said, that's still a lot of movement. Obviously, you got 3 teams are very, very, very much out, and 2 of those teams can impact this race. I don't see it happening because neither one of these teams has been playing well all season. And I mean, it is just like the SWAC to turn it on at the end and mess up somebody's seedings. But I don't think there's too much of a difference in all the scenarios. Like I said, it's mainly just what happens in Louisiana, in North Louisiana and in South Louisiana. Those 2 games are big for the standings, because that impacts the top 5. So we're eagerly awaiting to see what happens. And like I said, man, I'm just glad for this to start to be over because my head is like spinning like crazy. So just to look at the brackets, how the brackets will break down. The tournament starts on March 8th, which is Tuesday. There will be 2 women's games that day. Game 1 of the day will be the number 2 seed, which in my prediction is Alabama A&M. They will take on the number 7 seed Pine Bluff at 11 a.m. Number 1 seed Jackson State would play in game 2 at 5:30 against the 8th seed Alcorn. So those will be your first 2 games of the tournament. On Wednesday, March 9th at 11 o'clock, the 3 seed Alabama State, in this case, will take on the 6 seed Bethune-Cookman at 11 a.m. And then the final game of the first round, in my scenario, Southern, the 4 seed, takes on Prairie View, the 5 seed, at 5:30 on Wednesday, March 9th. The semifinals are Thursday, March 10th. Game 5 is the winner of game 1 versus the winner of game 3. That game tips off at 11 a.m. Game 6 is the winner of game 2 versus the winner of game 4. That game tips off at 5:30. And the women's championship is on March 11th, Saturday. Excuse me, is that Saturday? Excuse me, I got my dates wrong. Wednesday, the tournament starts. Wednesday, March 8th, Thursday, March 9th. Friday, March 10th is the semifinals, and the finals will be March 11th at 1 p.m. And that's game 7, the winner of game 6 against the winner of game 5 for the women's bracket. So that's pretty much where we stand on the women's side of things. It's not super crazy, but there's still a lot of chaos that can happen. And we're gonna get down for the ride, man, and watch everybody get down for their crown. So let's buckle in. So let's jump now to the men's side of things, and it's a little bit less chaotic, but it's still kind of crazy. You kind of got a better idea already of who is going to be where in this situation. Not a lot has changed. The top 2 teams are battling it out for first place, so that's definitely an interesting race to keep tabs on, and that will be settled on Saturday. So on the men's side, we don't know who the number 1 seed is, but we do know the top 5 seeds, and we'll go over those in 1 minute. We'll go over the scores first from Thursday's action. Thursday, March 2nd, Alabama A&M drops a 60-48 decision to Grambling. Alcorn beats Valley 70-60. Southern beats Alabama State 66-52. And Jackson State beats Pine Bluff 67-63. Looking at the action on Saturday, Alabama A&M plays Southern at 5:30. Texas Southern plays Prairie View at 3 on HBCU Go. So that's the last HBCU Go game of the season, so make sure you catch that. FAMU is at Bethune-Cookman. That's a 4 o'clock tip. Alcorn is at Pine Bluff. That's a 5:30 tip. Alabama State at Grambling. That's a 5:30 tip. And Jackson State at Valley is a 6 o'clock tip. So, like I said, these games are all very, very important because the standings are still, the standings still have some wiggling to do. We do know the top 5 teams, and those teams are Grambling, Alcorn, Southern, Jackson, and Alabama A&M at this point. Right now, Grambling is tied with Alcorn at both 14-3. Grambling is 21-8. They've won 8 games in a row. Alcorn 17-12. They've won 2 straight. Southern is 11-6, 15-15 overall. They've won 2 straight. Jackson State 11-6, 12-18 overall. They've won 3 straight. Alabama A&M is 9-8, 13-17 overall. They've lost 1. Prairie View is 8-9, 12-18 overall. They've lost 1. Texas Southern is 7-10, 11-19 overall. They've lost 2 in a row. Bethune-Cookman is 7-10, 11-19 overall. They've lost 1. Pine Bluff has, that is the coldest team in basketball right now, man. They are 6-11. They've lost 8 games in a row. They're 10-20 overall. At one point, they were 6-3 and sitting in the mix, and now they are dangerously on the verge of missing out on the tournament. They need some help to make some things happen. Alabama State 6-11, 8-22 overall. They've lost 5 in a row. As you can see, teams on losing streaks, man. This is not where you want to be at this time of the year. You find yourself, by yourself. Our FAMU is 5-12, 7-21 overall. They've lost 2 in a row. Valley 4-13, 5-26 overall. They've lost 1. So right now, 10 teams are battling it out now. 2 of those teams, Alabama State and Pine Bluff, they need some chaos to make some things happen. The top is simple. Grambling needs Alcorn to lose, and they need to win. So if Grambling wins and Alcorn loses, Grambling is the number 1 seed. They're a regular season champ, the number 1 seed, and they get the NIT bid in case they fall short in the tournament. That's very important. If Alcorn wins, no matter what Grambling does, Alcorn gets the number 1 seed and they tie for the championship. Now, if Alcorn wins and Grambling loses, then Alcorn's the outright champ. So right now, Alcorn's sitting in the catbird seat because they hold the tiebreaker over Grambling. And that's one of the things that I don't like about the schedule now is everybody doesn't play everybody. And, you have situations where you may have had a 1-1 split, but because these teams are even, it's just a 1-game matchup and the winner holds the tiebreaker. So Alcorn is sitting pretty. They just have to win. They just have to beat Pine Bluff, who has been horrendously cold. Although it's at home and you never know, with Pine Bluff. But Alcorn win, they're number 1. If they lose and Grambling win, Grambling number 1. So that's simple. The 3 spot is a tie between Southern and Jackson. Southern holds that tiebreaker over the Jackson State Tigers. So this is a simple one too. Jackson State needs Southern to lose, and they need to win to get the 3rd spot. So if Southern wins, it doesn't matter what Jackson State does. Southern gets that 3 spot. Jackson State gets the 4 spot. If Southern loses and Jackson State wins, Jackson State gets the 3 spot. Southern gets the 4 spot. Alabama A&M, they can't move really up or down. If they lose to Southern, they're 9-9, and they're sitting in 6th place. They're sitting in 5th place. If they win, they're 10-8, and they're still sitting in 5th place. So they can't move. They are stuck right there. They are number 5. No matter what scenario you throw out there, they are number 5. Prairie View makes for an interesting case. If they win and Alabama A&M wins, then there's a tie for that spot. But looking at my cheat sheet, Alabama A&M holds the tiebreaker over Valley. So regardless of what happens, Alabama A&M can't move past 5th place. They can't go lower. They can't go higher. So they are stuck no matter what Prairie View does. So you can go out and play this game however you want to play it, and just get ready for the tournament because you can't move. Of course you want to win and go into the tournament with some momentum, but it is, as far as standing goes, nothing's going to change. So that leads us to a very, very, very interesting and important game. And this game is for a lot of things can happen with this game. Prairie View, Texas Southern. Prairie View wins this game, then like I said, they are going to be sixth place regardless because they can't pass Alabama A&M. If Alabama A&M were to lose, they can't pass them because they don't have the tiebreaker. So Prairie View wins, they're number 6. It's cut and dry. Now if Texas Southern wins, they end up tied with Prairie View at 8 and 10. Then that means that you have to look at what Bethune-Cookman does. So Bethune-Cookman beats FAMU, which right now that's a toss-up. That you're looking at a 3-way tie at 8 and 10. So that means, first off, for Texas Southern to even get into a tiebreaker scenario with Prairie View, they need to beat the Panthers by 16 points because Prairie View beat them by 15 points the first time they played. So they need to win in convincing fashion to even make this a tiebreaker scenario. Otherwise, Prairie View wins that tiebreaker. The most important thing to look at in this situation would be Texas Southern and Bethune-Cookman. Again, these two teams played only once. Texas Southern beat Bethune-Cookman. Let's see. So that means that the Panthers the Tigers are sitting in a good spot if they were to finish tied with Bethune-Cookman. Let's say both of those teams lost and they finished 7 and 11, then Texas Southern would still be number 7 because they beat Bethune-Cookman. That also one interesting thing that could take place is if Prairie View lost to Texas Southern and they finished 8 and 10, the Tigers finished 8 and 10, and Bethune-Cookman finishes 8 and 10. Bethune-Cookman has a tiebreaker over Prairie View, so that that's something that you can kind of take into account. Like I said, it's all a mess. Other than that, you're looking at Bama State at 6 and 11. They need to beat Grambling, which is going to be a tough task. They need to beat Grambling, and then they need Texas Southern and Bethune-Cookman to lose, and it wouldn't hurt them for Pine Bluff to lose because Pine Bluff, they have the tiebreaker over Pine Bluff, so it doesn't really matter if those two teams finish tied. But Bama State, their only way into the tournament is Texas Southern lose, Bethune-Cookman lose, Pine Bluff wins or loses. But you probably would want them to lose because that would make them 6 and 12, and they are out. So you want to put yourself in a 3-way tie and hope that some things fall your way. That's the only way the Hornets are going to get in. Pine Bluff, kind of similar. Since they don't hold a tiebreaker over Alabama State, that hurts a lot. So you really want the Hornets to lose and make it a three-way dance. Bethune-Cookman doesn't have a tiebreaker. Pine Bluff has a tiebreaker over Bethune-Cookman at 1-0. They only played once. Texas Southern hold the point differential tiebreaker over Bethune-Cookman. So the Tigers, like I said, I think they're pretty solid 7 seed. I don't really see them finishing in the 8th spot, although with tiebreakers and mathematics it's possible. But I think Texas Southern is the 7th seed. And the 8th seed, like I said, it's that hodgepodge. But I think Bethune-Cookman is going to win that game against FAMU, and then it's an unnecessary point. So with Pine Bluff and Alabama State both playing the top 2 teams in the conference, and those 2 teams are battling it out for first place, basically, I don't expect a letdown from either one of those teams. So it's going to be a tough task for either one of those teams to win this game. And both teams are on extended losing streaks. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a hard task to snap those streaks and get yourself into the tournament. So the men's side is a little bit more settled. Still some chaos, but a lot of it is at the bottom. And I think the teams who are at the top of those ties are going to win those tiebreakers. So my prediction for the SWAC standings and seedings would be Alcorn 1, Grambling 2, Southern 3, Jackson 4, Alabama A&M 5, Prairie View 6, Texas Southern 7, and Bethune-Cookman 8. So basically, kind of how it is. I don't really see a lot of movement. So looking at the tournament bracket, the tournament on the men's side starts on Wednesday, March 8th. And the game 1 would be the 2 seed Grambling against the 7 seed Texas Southern. That's an interesting matchup. Now Grambling, Grambling beat Texas Southern pretty handily. The last time they played, they beat them pretty soundly in Grambling by 19, and then in the second game of the season, they beat Texas Southern by 13. So, Texas Southern, I still think this is a dangerous 7 seed. I think they are kind of in that mix. I really wouldn't want to play them, especially as a lower seed. They come out with nothing to lose, and they got guys that can put up points in a hurry. So, you hope that you face the Texas Southern team that's had those issues on and off all season. That's your hope. But if you face the Texas Southern team where PJ Henry goes for 30, 40 points, you're going to be in a battle. But Grambling is strong defensively, and I think they match up well with Texas Southern. Grambling's size can equal what Texas Southern has, so they kind of have a better way against them. So that would be our 2-7 matchup in my prediction. The 1-8 matchup is Alcorn and Bethune-Cookman. That game will be played on March 8th, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. So Alcorn gets the nightcap, closes out against Bethune-Cookman. Game 3 would be on Thursday. That would be the 3-seed Southern against the 6-seed Prairie View. These two teams played a couple close games. The game in Texas was pretty close. Prairie View had an 8 to 10 point lead in Baton Rouge in the second half and lost it. So this is a team that, they're streaky shooters, but they can kind of, muck a game up. And, if you lose focus, they can find themselves in a winning spot. So this is not an easy matchup either. That game is a 2:00 tip. Grambling and Texas Southern, the 2 versus 7 would also be a 2:00 tip. Again, these are just my predictions. Obviously these are not set in stone yet. And the final game of the first round would be Jackson State and Alabama A&M. That game would tip off at 8:30 on Thursday, March 9th. Jackson State beat Alabama A&M in their only matchup, so that leaves something. That doesn't leave you a lot of figuring out. Game 5 would be on Friday, March 10th in the first semifinal. That's the winner of game 2 versus the winner of game 4. And then game 6 would be Friday, March 10th at 8:30 p.m. And that would be the winner of game 1 versus the winner of game 3. And the championship would be Saturday, March 11th at 4:30 p.m. Obviously the winner of game 5 against the winner of game 6. So that's pretty much where we stand with everything. It's coming to an end, man. Like I said, I never change my balance. It's hectic, man. But I'm looking forward to this last day. And once Saturday is over, all the dust will settle. Hopefully there's no crazy tiebreakers that need to take place, and we can pretty much solidify our tournament and our participants on Saturday night. So make sure you catch me on Sunday as I preview the tournament and go over the scores from Saturday's games. And then throughout the tournament, I want to try to do a session-by-session recap. And basically the first round, it broke up into 4 sessions, 2 afternoon sessions with a men's and women's game, 2 evening sessions with a men's and women's games. So I want to try to do a recap of the first men's quarterfinal and the first women's quarterfinal, and then at night do a recap of the second women's quarterfinal and the second men's quarterfinal, and then on Thursday the same thing, first and first men's and women's quarterfinals. Then the final session of the first round, recap that night, and then do the same thing for the semifinals. So we got a full thing. That'll be, I want to do that every day of the tournament, just to kind of keep it a little bit as live as I can keep it. So, man, like I said, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, man. I appreciate it. Support SWAC basketball. That is the hashtag, man. I know a lot of people talking about, attendance and everything. So one last game, man. Y'all, if y'all in the area, man, go catch your team play, or any team in your area, go catch them And if you can attend the tournament, man, please do. So, because the tournament needs to get some people there. That's gonna do it for me, and I will catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.